Hey, GM, greetings and a pleasant evening to all. So we're back again. This is Robscom with our tech guy, Churchill, representing Davao DeFi community. So we're back on our episode show for webcast, which is DDC On-Demand, episode 14. So where we delve about relevant topics regarding tech and highlight about key individuals in our industry. So before we start, note to our viewers, it is important to emphasize that our program places more value in education and sharing knowledge. So rather than providing financial advice, so we strongly advocate for independent research and conducting due diligence. So we appreciate everyone who participate for tonight. And now for our show, delighted to extend a warm welcome to our featured guests for today, Sir Jerome Develter. Have you on our show, sir?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited for this episode.
Yeah, amazing. I know Persistent has been VC lately, so that's why it's an honor for us that you are able to come here on our show. Now, to get started, so we would like to discuss about your projects and, of course, and we would like to know about your background in the sense. So our discussion for tonight will be centered about Persistent as a Cosmos app chain for LSTFI. So, sir, can you give us a brief background on how you got started getting involved in Persistent and your journey in the space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started with Persistence about like 2.5 years ago, something like that. Joined Persistence mostly to work on the infrastructure side together with the team that was already in place. So I joined a little bit later, though I wasn't part of the original founding team. But joined afterwards initially to focus on Audit One, which is our validator arm, which I'm sure we'll get to later to each part of the project. But so worked on that for quite a while. Then moved on to the P-Stake side. So P-Stake is the liquid staking protocol. Helped out there on a couple of things. Then I've been moving on to the Core One side, which is actually the chain side of Persistence. And then since then, have been kind of been involved across the ecosystem in different products, different projects, special products, a little bit across the board. So kind of in the last 2.5 years have been around the company, different verticals, have touched upon a little bit every subject that we have. Now currently play the role of product director, overseeing all of our product teams, all of our engineers, designers, to make sure that we continue to ship and deliver great products. It's kind of my role at the moment and how I got involved over the last 2.5 years.
Quite a journey indeed. Now, I'm just curious because I found I've been following you on Twitter also, and I saw a photo that you're a professional boxer way before.
No, I'm not a professional boxer. I did one
Okay.
fight. I actually was it was an initiative back in the days when I lived in Singapore. It's a white collar boxing event, which means that white collar professionals basically train for a couple of months to then fight each other for charity. Actually, so it was a charity event that I did, and we raised quite a bit of money for the charity, and it was a fun way to getting back in shape. But I did one fight, I won it, and then I decided to retire and not box again. I think it was fun, but rather not step in the ring again.
Yeah, nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, now let's try to go more on the Persistent side because majority of our community here in the Philippines and also some of our viewers are newbies, normies in the sense. So we may need to touch base some of the general knowledge on this aspect. So let's talk about Persistent. What does Persistent basically do? Give us an overview about your project.
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to keep it brief and simple. But so Persistence One is actually a purpose-built layer one that's on a mission to maximize liquid staking yield. So it's a Cosmos app chain that provides a secure and robust infrastructure for other dApps to build an entire economy around liquid stake tokens. So in that we have P-Stake Finance. P-Stake Finance is a Cosmos-focused LST issuance protocol, so liquid staking tokens issuance protocol that is built on top of Persistence One, so on top of the chain, and it empowers users to earn staking rewards while they can still participate in DeFi. So that's the main purpose of liquid staking, I would say. So those are live for multiple tokens at the moment. So it's live for Atom, Osmo, BNB, and then some other tokens are coming up very soon, like DYDX and XPRT itself, like liquid staking for those are coming up soon. Then also within the ecosystem, so we have Dexter. Dexter is a decentralized exchange, also built on top of the Persistence One chain, which actually focuses on offering capital efficient trading between various tokens, mostly focused on liquid staking tokens. Basically gives efficient trading and yield opportunities for liquid stake tokens and stable coins actually as well. And so what we believe is that like as LST adoption continues to increase, Persistence One, like what we really try to do is like we aim to be that one-stop hub for LSTFi yields and like in general user experience in the Cosmos with anything that has to do with liquid stake tokens. Hope that kind of clarifies.
For persistence and the liquidity are there, right?
Correct. But so we try to not be too focused on Dexter as like the main liquidity hub for any of the tokens. We actually want to make sure liquidity is spread around the main dexes within the Cosmos. So as you might have seen, like we try to really promote liquidity on, for example, Osmosis, which we know is one of the main dexes in the Cosmos ecosystem. We're building liquidity on Astroport, for example, as well for liquid stake tokens. So in my opinion, yes, sure, like we're trying to push Dexter as an important liquidity hub for the tokens, but I do think we really try to make sure that liquidity is where the users are in the end, I think. And so depending on the token, that position might change. For example, for STK Osmo, if we want to build liquidity, the most natural way or the better like place to do that would be on Osmosis. I think that just makes sense because that's where the Osmosis users are. So that's also what we're trying to do. We're very agnostic when it comes to DEXs.
Yeah, and you capitalize this using the IBC, right? So that you can transfer token assets.
Absolutely. I think everything we do is very heavily reliant on IBC technology, which makes the bridging between different chains very seamless and then secure. So yeah, that's one of the main parts of the tech stack actually that we use very heavily.
Nice. Now, yeah, I've been into DeFi like on the early days of DeFi summer, and on the early days I've seen persistent already, but I'm not really too familiar. And most of the information or updates that I've seen, I saw some like notable entities like Audit One, P-Stake, and Persistent. Can you somehow define what are the relationship of these three entities? Is it part of the general ecosystem for persistence?
Yeah, absolutely. I can clarify that a little bit. So Audit One was actually the very first thing that we did back in the day. So when Persistence One was launched, it was a hard to generate revenue and like to sustain the business. So what we actually did is we started running validators as a way to sustain our operations. And Audit One kind of naturally became our infrastructure and validator arm that we kept on running. In the beginning, especially to bootstrap the rest of the project. But after a while, also because we realized it is actually quite handy to have a separate infrastructure arm which focuses on the infrastructure for validators, for running relayers and things like that. So that's how Audit One came about. Like we were actually one of the very first validators on the Cosmos Hub. We were actually one of the Genesis validators for a few very like early on projects. So since like proof of staking came about, like not much later, Audit One was there to understand what's happening, to support, to run validators. So that's how we actually got very, very close into staking, and naturally stayed very close and on top of like whatever was developing on the liquid staking side. And with that, we are actually the very first like liquid staking provider for Atom back in the days. But then long story short, we issued it on Ethereum, had a bridge in place, which made everything like quite difficult from a user experience. So ended up moving that product to a new product that is now a lot easier to use. But so that's on the Audit One side. Audit One is the validator arm. Then you have Persistent itself. Persistence is actually the chain, or Persistence One is the chain. It's called Core One. Is the actual chain layer that allows all of the action to happen and dApps to be built on top. And currently there's 2 dApps building on top. So as I mentioned earlier, the first one is P-Stake Finance, which is the liquid staking protocol that really focuses only on the issuance part of the liquid stake tokens, and of course on the integrations with other chains. Then the layer on top of that, or actually next to it, would be on the Dexter side, is the decentralized exchange that allows the efficient trading of those tokens and others actually. So it's kind of a small ecosystem around liquid stake tokens with a heavy focus, of course, on P-Stake and Dexter as applications.
Yeah, nice. So you're fully transitioning to basically on Cosmos. As we know, we have some gas issues with Ethereum. It's really hard to transact there. Now, since you mentioned about the product, let's try to delve in more specific into your product, like the liquid staking. Many of, like, for example, our listeners, our normies, and viewers are not too familiar with liquid staking and may not fully understand it. So, can we backtrack a bit and provide some insights into liquid staking significantly changes the approach of native staking? So, especially in the realm of DeFi, what are the benefits and associated risks somehow with this improvement?
Definitely. So, I mean, I'm sure most people are familiar with proof of stake in general and like how it works and how people have to lock up tokens in a way to specific validators in delegated proof of stake to secure the chain. That was all like great and then very good to kind of bootstrap security for the chain. Now it's not that capital efficient if you look at it, because once you stake your tokens, yes, you will get staking rewards, which kind of helps to make the capital at least return some sort of return. However, your capital is locked up and you can't do much else with it. And that's where liquid staking comes in, actually. So liquid staking allows you to, through these protocols like P-Stake, allows you to stake your tokens, but you get a derivative token in return. So let's say, like we call it STK token. So let's say you want to stake Atom, instead of just locking up your Atom and getting staking rewards. Now you lock up your Atom with the protocol, you get a token which is called STK Atom. In return, you will continue to earn the rewards that you would have from staking, but now you can use that STK Atom token in various DeFi protocols as collateral, for example, or you can use it on a DEX to provide liquidity, so that you actually are not stuck with only your staking yield, but you also can generate yield through various DeFi applications.
Yeah, that's really an amazing tech that has been created. Be able to be capital efficient with your staking asset, your native staking asset. Imagine that millions of valuations that are being locked 21 days, and you cannot use it. So, yeah. So basically, liquid staking are being used in DeFi, right? In different DeFi products like liquidity provider. What else? Most common.
Typically, you would be able to, for example, use this as collateral to borrow against. So let's say I have Atom, I lock it up in a protocol. Let's say a protocol like UMI, for example, where you can do borrowing lending. You basically lock up your STK Atom and you can borrow, let's say, USD against it. With that, you can actually do leverage liquid staking. You could actually buy more Atom and do that again. So buy STK Atom and kind of leverage up in a way. There's other applications. You could, for example, lock up your token to mint, for example, USK. It's actually something we're going live with this week, if I'm not mistaken, where you're able to lock up your STK Atom on Kujira. you mint their stable coin in return. So it's very similar. You can of course like LP into certain pools to get some of the typically incentives that are provided there. And there's other things like, for example, there's Nolus, like a lease protocol where you can use those tokens. And I think there's probably plenty more of applications to come still in DeFi. I think DeFi is still very early stage, so I'm sure there's plenty more applications to come.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And this liquid staking asset are auto compounding your rewards, right?
Correct.
Right now?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what the protocol does for you, right? So once you stake your tokens, you actually don't have to worry about it anymore. And let's say even if you don't want to use your liquid stake tokens in DeFi, just holding the tokens itself already gives you some sort of value, because the protocol automatically claims the rewards and auto compounds them, so that you don't have to manually do that on your end. So even if you're just a long-term staker and you just want to kind of claim your rewards and restake, you can actually just easily hold the SDK token or the liquid stake token, because the protocol does that for you then.
Yeah, definitely. That's really a capital efficient. Now, if I may ask, how do you exit with like this asset, with this LST asset?
Exit, you mean like go back to the regular asset?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basically, because with your native staking, if you want to exit, you will be unbanding for 21 days period.
Right.
Now, with this LST, you're able to exit the market as you want. So, what are the ways that you could probably exit from this position?
Yeah, correct. Good question. So as you say, like with staking, you'd be locked up for typically 21 days. With liquid staking, the advantage is that you actually have a few ways to go about it. I think the most straightforward way is just by selling it on a DEX that has enough liquidity, where you can just swap your SDK atom in the example case that we've been using for this podcast so far. So you can swap your SDK atom for atom on a DEX. Of course, there needs to be liquidity for that, because otherwise, if you don't look at the liquidity and there's not enough liquidity in the pool, then you might incur some slippage, which is not ideal. But so that's the easiest way. If there's sufficient liquidity, which of course we try to build for all of the assets, it should be easy to swap out in an instant. We actually on our protocol have two other ways to redeem or to kind of go back to Atom. One is to what we call flash unstake. It's a feature in which you can actually come to the protocol and you can unstake the SDK assets that you have and get assets in return instantly. But this only works if there are enough new assets being provided in the protocol recently, so in the previous epoch. So it's quite limited in terms of the amount you can unstake, but for smaller amounts it works quite well. And then the other option is to actually unstake through the protocol, where you will also be bound to that 21 days. But typically that will get you the exact rate, like the perfect rate, and you're not depending on any price differences or slippage of sorts. And there's also no fee for that. There is a small fee for the instant redemption or for the flash unstake. So yeah, those are the options. Hope that clarifies the question.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing, and I think there will still be some iteration eventually in the future of how do you exit that. Now, with regard to liquid staking, I've seen some progression from the start with regards to technology. There are so many terminology that are coming. Like it started with LSD, then becomes LST, then LSTFI. Do you have some ideas regarding this? Are these all the same, or they have their own narrative or maybe attributes?
Yeah, I'll get back to that question. I just want to add one more thing on the previous part where you say going back to the original token, or swapping out of the SDK asset. So I think our belief in a way is that the liquid stake tokens will over time become the default assets of the staking economy. In a way, to me, it seems more rational to hold SDK assets rather than normal assets. And the only time I would actually want to get out of my liquid staked assets would be to actually sell it to fiat. I think that would be my only way. But if I actually want exposure to, let's say, asset Atom, to me, it always seems more rational to have SDK Atom than Atom because it auto compounds and it's just more efficient. So I do think like over time, when liquid staking becomes like more mature and everything, we'll see more and more people just holding SDK assets instead of regular assets. So the need to actually swap back to the original asset will, I think, become less. But that was just to add on to the previous
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
To go to your question on like terminology and things like that. So I think initially it started with, just liquid staking, and then people started calling it LSDs for liquid staking derivatives. And I think there were a lot of memes and jokes about it, where the narrative of LSD as a drug kind of came in. Something I'm not really a big fan of, and I think more and more people started just referring to it as LST, liquid staking tokens, which I think is kind of maybe more accurate. I think derivative is maybe a word that is not always widely understood, maybe also from regulators and stuff, like rather not
Yeah.
feelings of something. So with that, like I think LST kind of became the main like terminology to use when referring back to liquid staking tokens. And then I think the combination with DeFi was just shortened to make it LSDFi instead of LST DeFi.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense. And for me, it's like it was also some adjusting, like, and we switch around. But I think LSDFi is kind of the terminology that stuck for the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing our space. There are so many lingo terminology coming out. And it's quite
Absolutely.
confusing sometimes. So, yeah, moving forward. So basically, persistent is a layer one blockchain under Cosmos chain interchain. Now, I want to ask if what's basically the pivot of persistent becoming a layer one blockchain that there will be many products or dApps building on top of it, or you're more specific really on liquid staking as a hub?
Yeah, I think that how we call it is like we're a purpose-built layer one. So yes, we're a layer one, and theoretically we can have a lot of apps and a lot of different things. But I think there's enough chains already out there trying to be a layer one that accommodates to everything and anything. So we're not in that category. So we don't try to make our chain efficient for NFTs. We're not trying to do gaming. We're not like a general purpose layer one. So we're really a purpose built layer one around liquid staking. Yeah, I think it will stay that way. So ideally, of course, we bring in a few more apps that can bring more and more use cases around liquid staking and the liquid stake tokens, but also not necessarily. So we're not really looking at bringing in 20, 30 new protocols. Of course, if people want to build useful things on top of the chain, that's fine and that's possible. But we also believe in the app chain theory, where everything or every application can be its own chain, and then just making very smooth integrations through IBC, like using like interchain queries, interchain accounts to make that very smooth. So in a way, for a user, it shouldn't really matter like whether you're doing a transaction on persistence chain or on like another app chain. From our end, like from the front end UI, we want to make that like super smooth, and like it is a DeFi journey, but it should like just be very smooth from the UX experience, the UX like point of view. So yeah, I think with that, like just to summarize the answer on that question, like we're purpose built and we want a few more dApps around liquid staking, but not going too broad. I think the more focus sometimes, I think the better, and it
Yeah.
helps kind of achieve more goals more strategically.
Yeah, fully agree with that. Now, another question is, of course, on the space, liquid staking is somehow like a hot narrative starting from Ethereum. then eventually cascade to Cosmos. And there are some other players also popping out on the ecosystem. So what are some of the like plans of Persistence to be able to be competitive on this niche somehow? Then to add on, is Persistent being built as a multi-chain, or are you still going to adapt that eventually?
Mhm. So on the first part, like when it comes to competition, I think, I mean, it's great to have competition. I think it moves the space forward in general. Like I don't like to focus too much on the competition, but like to look at like how we are doing things and make sure we do things to the best of our abilities. In a way, I think one of the most important things is to make sure that you stay alive and you stay in the business, and that you actually in there to play the long game. And I think that's maybe one thing that we focus heavily on. Maybe other protocols don't, maybe they do, I don't really know. But for us, that's super important. And what I mean by that is like the security aspect of things. It's like everything we do, we make sure like it's properly tested, it's properly audited before things go on chain. We don't want to risk anything, because like a single like exposure or a single like vulnerability can actually end pretty badly for the project, which is something we don't want. So definitely we're in this for the long game. And when we look at competition, like I tend to think that over a period of time, like we will do very well. And like especially because on the tech side, I think we're very strong. On the security side, we're very strong. I think on the management side, we're pretty strong. So I think a lot of pieces have kind of come together. One thing that we're working on, I think, where we know has not been our strongest suit, is the growth and the marketing side of things, which is something we're fixing. We're really working heavily on that side. So I feel like a lot of things are kind of coming together to really be competitive in this market, despite maybe bigger players coming in or already having a little bit more market share. I think the overall market share of liquid staking compared to staking is still so small that I think it's still very early. And yeah, we're in here with like a lot of ambition and like long-term goals. Then to come back to your second part of the question, trying to remember. Oh yeah, the multi-chain,
Multi-chain,
thing. So yeah, Persistence itself is one chain, but pStake, the application, is actually providing a multi-chain experience at the moment, including so on BNB. I think, I mean, I don't really use multi-chain that often. We typically use like interchain to like talk about everything that is connected through IBC. I'm still a big believer that eventually all chains will have some sort of an IBC connection, which will make it a lot easier for everyone and all chains to kind of connect. But to me, again, like this comes back to like my vision of user experience. And I think the entire like which chain am I working on should be abstracted away from the user. In a way, you want to come in as a user, you open your DeFi application or you open a portal, which is actually, I'll give you something about that later. But so you open a portal, and then for you as a user, you shouldn't really worry about like, okay, is this asset now on this chain? Is this asset on that chain? Like, where is this protocol hosted? To me, like the user experience need to be so smooth that you don't even have to worry about that. And that's what we are working towards. So that's what I wanted to tell you. We're actually working on, we call it app.persistence. It's something that doesn't exist yet, but we'll come out with this year. It's something to really make the user journey for everyone a lot easier, and we'll like have a combination or like a unified front end for the apps on Persistence, so pStake and Dexter, but also unifying integrations, so make it really easy to perform actions on other chains just from in that same app, so that it really becomes a very smooth user experience.
Yeah, definitely agree with this. It's been a pain in the ass trying switching to different chain, adding networks on your wallet. So definitely, if we want to get mass adoption, account abstraction, UI, UX should be really friendly to everyone, so that they don't need to know the tech side, just the front end integrating. Yeah, that's really amazing that Persistent is has been doing that on that aspect. Now, I missed some question regarding Delbin on liquid staking. I would like to backtrack a bit about it, because since your product is liquid staking, and as we know, most of the proof of stake chain have their own governance. Now, how do we package the built-in governance of that particular asset that we are trying to liquid stake? Can we still participate in the governance in that aspect?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and at the moment, we don't provide it. I know, like, there's other liquid staking providers trying to work on that, but at the moment, we don't allow users who have liquid staked assets to vote in the governance of the protocol. It's just like, because it's technically quite hard to do that. Because once, let's say, you use your token elsewhere, it's quite tricky to still be able to vote and kind of backtrack everything. So technically, it's quite hard. Now, what we do, like when it comes to governance, is at least on the p-stake side for the liquid staking protocol, there's p-stake governance, in which the p-stake token holders can help and decide on certain parameters, on certain decisions that need to be taken. But typically that doesn't help really the what we call host chain with their governance. Now, what we are working on towards, though, is like have some sort of a co-governance thing, where, let's say, if the host chain, let's say for example DYDX, right? Let's say DYDX users, their community, they want to change the parameter on the p-stake protocol, which is providing SDK DYDX. They could actually raise a proposal on their side, and then their token holders can vote on that, and then p-stake would implement the parameters that they have voted for. So something like that, some sort of a dual governance model that we're looking at. But at the moment, governance is actually not possible for people with liquid stake tokens.
Okay, got it. Now, want to add up of that, this is basically more involved with the community. It's somehow like a far cry of the community. As we know, lately there have been a narrative like, for if you're really securing the network, you get incentives airdrop from different applications that come out on that network. Now, the dilemma with this is, if you liquid stake your your native stake, there are instances that you will not get the eligibility. I know this is some kind of maybe a problem technically, or it's just a procedural scenario. But do you have insights regarding this? Are there any future that LST will be able to somehow participate with this airdrop?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked, because it's actually something we're working on this sprint. But so very high level, I mean, to give you the fact, it's like, it's always going to be a best effort, and it's a BD effort in a way. So it's a business development, where the new project that decides to airdrop, they will have to agree in a way to airdrop to token holders of SDK assets. Now, this BD effort, like how we go about is, of course, like we are relatively well connected. We try to speak to any of the projects that come out very early on. We have groups with all of like pretty much any project that kind of comes up within the Cosmos. Try to speak very early on with them to see if we can include users. Now, the second part to that is making it very easy for those projects to do that airdrop, and that's where the technical aspect comes in. Like in an automated manner, it's going to be very hard because the protocol works from a single modeler account, and that typically doesn't get the airdrop, or maybe it gets the airdrop, but it's very small compared to the amount, because typically there's caps. But so technically, that actually the automated option is very hard. So that's why we're going on the BD option, and we try to make it as easy as possible for the protocol to get the data on like who are our asset holders. So for that, we're actually working on something this sprint, and probably still next sprint. It might take a bit of time to really get all the data. But the goal is to have some sort of a data availability service that any project that wants to launch can just query a certain endpoint that says, okay, I want to look at all the SDK asset holders at that particular time. Give me the list and give me like where exactly they are. And basically we provide them that data very easily. And then they can use that to airdrop tokens directly to those users. So that's kind of, I think, the maximum we can do. And that's what we really try to do, is make the data availability easier, and then do the BD on our side to really try and speak to these projects, explain the importance of SDK asset holders for a vibrant DeFi ecosystem. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's good news and amazing for the community. For sure, they will be happy. And I think the narrative also for every projects, they're becoming aware to extend this airdrop to LST community, because the LST community are growing. So if they want to get the relevance and distribution of their token directly to the community, so they should extend, definitely.
Absolutely. Otherwise, they'll end up airdropping to airdrop farmers who just
Yeah.
farm the airdrops.
Correct, definitely.
Mhm.
Now, you mentioned about security and you mentioned about audits. So, with regards to the positioning of persistence, that you're not basically liquid staking on a fixed asset only. You're onboarding different assets. So, every onboarding process of that asset, there will be an audit. So, every time.
So it depends on the actual product, whether there are any specific changes needed to the protocol. So the protocol is built in a way that any chain that has IBC enabled and sorry, ICA, which is like interchain accounts enabled, we can onboard very easily. So that without changing the code, it's just like a parameter setting to enable the chain. So that means our code for that part has been audited twice already. So typically there, we don't need to do a third audit for the same piece of code. Although we do that like regularly, we want to re-audit stuff that has been audited. But so adding a new chain in that case, straightforward. For example, we had SDK Atom, we added SDK Osmo, no new audit required because it's actually the exact same code, just a different parameter. Now, if we look at DYDX, for example, they have something quite unique in their case. They actually pay out staking rewards in USDC. So rather than in the native token DYDX, they pay out staking rewards in USDC. So that means we had to change and adapt the protocol a little bit so that when staking rewards are received, instead of getting that USDC and dispersing that to the users, we actually transfer the USDC into DYDX. So we basically auto compound DYDX so that we can offer like yield on in DYDX directly, which is quite a nice feature because again, like if you're long DYDX token, you just have to acquire SDK DYDX, and then you're auto compounding. It's like a flywheel effect of sorts where you get USDC like is converted in DYDX, and that is staked again automatically in the protocol. So for that, we needed like a small change. And of course, that piece has been audited again, just to make sure that all of that works smoothly and is secure as well. So basically what we take as an approach is that everything that's new and like changing the actual code base, we get it audited. I think that's just best practice.
Yeah. So this DYDX is live already, or still?
Not yet. So DYDX has to go through a chain upgrade first. I think that's scheduled for the 28th or 29th of Jan. From our side, we are waiting for the final audit to be finished for that like small piece of chain, but it's actually ready as well. Like it's been tested on our testnet. So only I think a few days after DYDX does their chain upgrade, so early February, we will probably go live with it as well. We also will need a chain upgrade for that. So I think somewhere first half of February we'll have it live.
Yeah, that's amazing. Definitely looking forward for that. Then, I would like to ask this also. Since Persistent is a layer 1 blockchain, so basically, do you have validator? You funnel incentives. So, does Persistence have an active governance structure as a layer 1 chain itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a validator set of 100 validators. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the observatory. I think it's .zone service. It's like they look at how decentralized chains are and how governance works and everything. It's quite interesting to see. We're actually ranking very high on there when it comes to decentralization. So we have a pretty good and decentralized validator set. Yeah, governance I would say is relatively active. It's not like Osmosis where there are so many proposals that one can't keep up and
Correct.
just can't vote on everything. It's slightly less active than that, but definitely active enough. All important things, basically everything goes through governance. Even recently, the Dexter protocol moved fully to XPRT governance. So now, like if someone wants to create a new pool on Dexter, you can actually do that. You can propose it into XPRT governance. So on the chain of persistence, you can propose, I want to create this new pool between these two new assets, and then governance of XPRT. So all XPRT stakers will decide whether you can actually create that pool or whether that pool will be created or not. Same with rewards. If you want to incentivize any specific pool on Dexter, you have to propose that to XPRT stakers. So with that, really building that utility for XPRT holders, so they can have a say in the protocol, in the protocols that are built on top. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm not too familiar with your governance, so it's XPRT. That's the one
Correct.
that you've been using. Yeah,
Correct.
we're almost on the end part on our show, so I got some few here. Now I want to add this up because I've experienced this. I think months ago, I participated one of your testnet because one of the challenges now is like, for example, if you could stake your Ethereum, the gas cost is really expensive, and I think Persistent or maybe P-Stake are innovating like you could stake your Ethereum on a layer two, like Arbitrum and Optimism, but it's already being staked also in Ethereum. Is that moving forward? I was able to do
Yeah.
testnet with that.
I'm glad you were a testnet participant. So yeah, at the moment, we're actually quite caught up on everything that's happening on the Cosmos side, which is our specialty, which we want to focus on. So at the moment on the ETH side, most of it is ready. We're actually still in the final stages to get everything ready to actually launch, but we're not actively pushing that. I think we earlier mentioned that like focus is quite important when it comes to things, and we realized if we do too many things at once, it's hard to win at anything, right? So at the moment, we're actually we decided to put it a little bit on hold, like for now at least, until we really get that win that I think we're very close to on the Cosmos side, with launching DYDX, with focusing more on SDK and really do justice to what we're building on the Cosmos side. Before we put again more efforts on the ETH side. And it also comes down to incentives. Like there's only so much incentives you can launch with or like try to bootstrap certain things with. So the more we split out, the harder it becomes. So we decided for now at least to focus first on the Cosmos side before we actually pick up the ETH side again.
Yeah, so definitely persistence is really busy. There's so many development and works on the road. Now, actually, I saw here a post from one of the on the city on the crypto Twitter. He posted about the latest update of persistence for 2024, and it's a long list of alpha actually. Can you share like few of the alphas that is coming for persistent with the
Yeah,
Cosmos?
I think, I mean, we briefly touched upon it already, but I think for me, 2024 is really about doing justice to what we have built. So I think to me, that means really going after the integrations and like really focusing on the utility of the tokens that are created now. So we have, of course, like tokens like SDK Atom, SDK DYDX, all these tokens, like it's now due to the tech, it's very easy to expand, but it's easy, like we can expand to 20 chains, but if there's no utility for them, it's not really that helpful. So our focus for 2024 is really to to go all in on integrations, making the utility of these liquid stake tokens a lot higher than what it is today. So focus on that, and on the same time, really making that UX push when it comes to kind of really making things easier, have a unified front end. So those, I think, would be my main two things that we're focusing on, at least for the next 6 months, really heavy on those, in combination with the usual suspects like security and doubling down on these things. That I would say is like probably the most important thing for us. And of course, like distribution, like user adoption, working more and more close together with more local communities, for example, to get their feedback, to see what we can do there to expand our like regional reach, going back to like our marketing and distribution channels, and really figuring things out on that front, because I think we have actually built great products, we have great tech, we have great team as well, but we haven't done justice really. I think we don't have enough users, we don't have enough local communities using our products. So those things we really want to fix in this cycle.
Yeah, that's a good avenue. You have already all the aspects for a product that is very interesting. Probably everyone should get some time to do research about Persistent. And now you're building community. Definitely, Filipino degens will be coming to do research with Persistence and eventually create a Filipino community also for that. Now, how do we connect with Persistent? Do you with your social? Can you let us know? How do we connect?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're, as most people, we're on crypto Twitter, or X as they call it now. I think our main handle is Persistence1. We also have P-Stake Finance as a handle. I think Dexter has its own handle. But I think the most important one to follow is Persistence1. I can share these with you, by the way. I'm not sure, you can maybe upload those later to the...
Yeah, we'll be posting that on that.
Perfect. But yeah, so we have like announcement channels in Telegram as well. Like we have an announcement channel, we have a community channel for each of the projects. So Persistence has one, P-Stake has one, Dexter has one. And then there's Discord as well. Each of the projects has its own Discord as well, where you can get more involved with the community, ask questions, speak to other community members. I'll send you the list of all these things.
Yeah, definitely. We'll try to share that with the community so that they can try to expand doing research about Persistent. So basically, majority of the degens are aligning for the tech, and I think Persistent is delivering that. So it's a good avenue to check with Persistent and do some research. So yeah, Sir Jerome, thank you so much for coming here in our show. So we're glad that we know more about Persistent in this sense.
Thank you so much for having me and introducing me to your community. I'm very happy to support any of the initiatives you guys do. And also, like, if you guys have feedback on any of the products, anything we do, feel free to share within our community, and we'll pick that up because we're very open to any type of feedback. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. Great stuff, and hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be following Persistent with its product, and of course, we might span out or maybe have a Filipino community supporting Persistent also products. So thank you so much, Sir Jerome. Have a good day. Bye for now.
Thank you. You too. All the best. Ciao.
Bye-bye.